I've just been thinking of all the reasons I would fall in love. I don't know why, but here's what I can say. I can say. Do I love you? Oh my, do I? Honey, indeed I do. Babe, you know it's true.
This is the combined session for, as you know, the executive board, president, secretary, treasurer. We covered, and I said this a little bit earlier too today, right, is that we've been through these kinds of situations, these kinds of combined sessions. When we're in person, it's great. We have a chance to talk about some things. We present some additional information. The focus, we've learned in our towers, in our sessions, how to be presidents, and treasurers and secretaries. And we've covered a couple of topics that are, intertwined, interdependent, right? So that happens. But this session is meant to come together to continue to talk about how these three positions work together to support the chapter, support each other as a team, high performance team, how we run the chapter as leaders. We talk about leadership in all the sessions as well, and how we also then work with the other board positions as well to come together with a positive experience for our singing organization there. So something like that. I'm going to show some stuff as VP of Secretary, but and I don't know who wants to go first. Let's see, John Santora, you're here somewhere. I see you there. Jeff, I see you there too. I don't know, the three of us kind of like panelists here. I'm going to put us up. I'm going to spotlight us, okay? Here, there's one. Let's go. Let's go find John Santora. John, where are you? I don't see you. All right, well, that's all right. I'll get you. So who wants to go first?
I guess I can start if you want for
Okay.
presidents, and then you guys can follow on. I just kind of want to, maybe what I can do is just share my PowerPoint quickly. And it's just one slide that I want to show that what do we talk about when we're with the presidents, right? And I'm a pretty nuts and bolts guy. And so tactical stuff, operational thing, especially if you're a new guy to being a president, you want to know, what to do. And on top of that, you want to know who's supposed to be doing it. And you're the leader of the organization, so you got to know which bin everything falls into. So making sure you know all the job responsibilities and things like that. And we went, and then some things don't have like a vice president title that are jobs that need to get done in your chapter as well all the time. So we kind of listed all of those things from top to bottom, all the way down to program guy to truck driver. And from president, secretary, treasurer, membership, blah, 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 blah. And I won't go into any of those slides now because you can all watch the awesome video that we did. And I think there's a Dropbox somewhere with the PowerPoint presentation in it as well. So
Google Drive, but yeah.
Yeah, Google Drive. Yeah, there you go. And Rob's really good at putting that stuff together. So kudos to Rob. Thank you very much. Then we kind of talked about strategic stuff, and we had a great kickoff from Bill Colosimo that did that. And Jason Lee kicked off this week, which is like amazing. Oh my God. I'm like, my brain is kind of exploding with all that stuff. But that's more strategic things, right? So how do I get to where I want to be based on where I am today? And how do I get buy-in from everybody in my chapter that this is really the direction we all want to go? And then we had a great discussion chapter by chapter. We just went down the line and kind of like talked about the challenges that each chapter had. And we had some great feedback and successes that some people did and failures that some people experienced. And, I thought it was a great back and forth on that. And we finished it off with, here's how you navigate the Mid-Atlantic District website, and here's how you navigate the even more complex BHS website. to find the stuff that you need, because it's not always so easy to find the stuff that you need. So, those are the things that we talked about in the president's class.
Funny you should mention that, John. I'm just going to go real quickly here. I'm going to share my screen because that last point dovetails. Now, you notice, oh, look at that. I happen to be on the confusing website, the Barbershop Harmony Society website. Why I want to show this is I'm going to go to Doc Center for a minute. And in my other sessions, I've shown a little bit about this. Secretaries, we covered this as well. That we've got when you do a search like this search up here, this little spyglass, that's to search for members. Like I could search for Jeff, or Jeff could search for, Doug or something like that, or whatever. That's not the search for documents. The search for documents is down here. And I want to demonstrate one thing. I'm going somewhere to my content, but I wanted to show this because this is important. Business, if you go and search for business, the document I'm going for is Business of Barbershop. And this has a schedule in it and all that sort of thing. If I search for just that, I have to click on the search button. I get like 95 results because they have the word barbershop in them. And like my document is down in here somewhere, and I don't know, I'm tired. I can't handle finding that. There's a way to override that or to overcome that. And here's how it is. Here's the trick. I know the title is Business of Barbershop. If you put the title in quotation marks, and then I do the search, bam, I get 1.
Oh, nice.
Okay. If you go and let's do like,
but you got to know the exact name of the thing.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So secretary tools, if I go look at that, I might not know the name exactly. Maybe it's that. Here's chapter, treasurer tools, and secretary tools are there. But here you go.
Find the president's one, I dare you.
Yeah, no, it doesn't exist, right? So here you go, right? So just those quotations around it, bam, you get right to it. Okay, so
I ask a question before you go further, because I don't know how to get, or at least I couldn't right now. How did you get to the search through all the content? I've always
got it. Let me go back up to the home. That's good. Thank you for that question. And you could actually rewind after I post this, but it's okay. We'll cover it right now. Not a problem. Here I'm on the home page. I've logged in to the Barbershop Harmony Society website, and you can see these kind of little tiles, right, that you can click on and whatnot. Okay, where we want to go is to Doc Center, so that's up here, Docs Center. Okay, and then in Docs Center, you scroll down below this area, and here's your trending articles, and that's where this search bar is, right down here.
Great.
Why it's not at the top, I'll never know, but you got to scroll down.
Because the other stuff is more important, of course.
Obviously.
All right. So I'm going to open this document, and this is really where we were headed. Okay. So I've got this article. I'm going to go ahead, and this would be good for you to, let's see if I can make it bigger. It's a 10-page document, good for you to print out and to know. Now, this was revised on Friday, November 17th, because that's important to note. So here's kind of a schedule of what you want to try to sort of get into a regular kind of cadence, right? So for the president wants to meet with the chapter secretary to prepare the agenda. And then to preside over the president presides over the monthly chapter board meeting. Okay, got it. Secretary meets with the president so the reverse, right? So, and downloads a current, let's say, chapter roster. I'm not going to read all of these. It's 10 pages. And we don't have time for that. I'm too tired. Treasurer, keep an accurate record all the time. This is monthly, right? So every month, go through and make sure you're good. Process the payment of bills and invoices. I mean, that just makes sense. We do that in our natural life. But I encourage you to go and to find this document any month as required, and this kind of mentions, like member death, that's not happy, chapter officer changes, contest cycle, that sort of stuff. But there's show clearances. These are the kinds of things that you do. Here's your schedule throughout the year. January, do this, right? February, do this. And I want to go back up here. So here, this is important. John Santora, I'm going to tee you up here, right? The IRS 1099 forms are due. Get those out. Get them out. If you don't have them out, get them out now. That sort of thing, right? So this kind of helps you go month by month to know what's important, right? I think if we go and look, here you go. Here's your file your IRS and CRA forms by May 15th. June doesn't list it, but June 30th is when we're supposed to have the audit completed. Not the audit, the financial review. Sorry, John. Here's your 990 in May, right? So it's just a great schedule to help you sort of keep on track and to remember, oh, right, we didn't do that. Let's remember to do that. Everyone's know where this is and where you can get it. In my presentation, and I don't know if the treasurer had this in their presentation as well, but tells you about what kind of your schedule you want to keep for keeping legal files and whatnot too. This is a copy and paste right out of the secretary's guide into the slide deck and into this document here. We had some questions about this too in our session. So, okay. All right.
And there are individual ones on president's jobs,
yes,
secretary's job, treasurer's jobs. And each one of those is like another 20 or 30 pages.
Exactly. All right. So, John, I'll pass it you. I know you've got a couple of things that you need to drive.
Yes. Thanks, Rob. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So, I understand that a lot of information was passed on in the treasurer's course last week by Matt Matthew, and I understand he did a great job. He and I touched base after that session, and there are a couple of things that he didn't touch, but also they relate to all three of these positions. Well, one of them relates to all three of these positions, and the other relates to the secretary and the treasurer. Rob, you probably covered with the secretaries about uploading information to the BHS website, the 990 and the financial review and the corporate maintenance documents.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Okay.
And Matt also covered that a little. He didn't go through how to do it as much. We went to the place in Member Center where you do that. I didn't have any documents to upload, so we didn't actually do it. But Matt Matthew did cover the license revocation or the chapter charter revocation or being out of compliance. Mm-hmm. So he did show that graphic on there as well, by the way.
So now you have this manage my singing communities up here at the top. If you click on that, and every president, secretary, and treasurer should have access to their chapter. So you would see your chapter down here, and you would then click on your chapter. And when you click on your chapter, you as a president, secretary, or treasurer will see a lot more information than the average chapter member will see. And what you'll do is scroll down, and you'll see down here in these compliance files down here, you'll see that there's the 990N, the financial review. This is a state incorporation a document. So all of these are So if you can see what that who uploaded it, what the document is, and there should actually be an image of it, but I'm not seeing that. So anyway, that's where you upload the information. Treasurers, if you didn't see this, it is according to the hierarchy of president, secretary, and treasurer. This should be done by the secretary, but the treasurer will be providing the information for both the 990 and the financial review to the secretary, or he or she could do it themselves by going to this portion of the Manage My Singing Communities.
Can you click on the Related tab real quick? Is there anything there?
Related files. There we go.
Add files.
That's what it is. Yep.
There you go.
Very good. Okay, so I will come back here and figure out how to stop sharing my screen. There we go.
So if you don't have those superpowers, that means you're not listed correctly as a chapter officer. And you need to find the person with the last superpower and get you added as a chapter officer.
And that raises another issue, because if you were listed as a president, secretary, or treasurer for 2021, it doesn't carry over to 2022. So
Right.
somebody before the end of 2021 should have gone in and put the 2022 officers, if there were changes, into the system, because that's another superpower that the president and secretary have. And if they haven't done that, then you're going to have to call customer service and you're going to have to ask somebody at Harmony Hall to help you put the correct people, give the correct people those superpowers. So that was one of the things that that I wanted to show the group here.
We have a hand.
We have a hand.
We do have a hand.
You know, there's a way to do that automatically, and I wouldn't have to, I didn't make up or anything today. I wanted to ask, the rumor that went around in my chapter is as long as one person gets the superpower for 2022, it would be one of the 3 people, or if your chapter gives superpowers to more than the 3, then you're okay. So the worst case scenario is suddenly somebody thinks, oh my God, it's 3 days before the end of the year. Can I reach anybody? And you can only reach one person. That's still okay?
I think so.
I think that is true,
We didn't
and
test it.
but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure I've done that.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you can designate that some people have terms that go more than 1 year.
Yeah, that you can't do.
If you can't do that, then you actually have to do it before the end of the year. But either of the president, any of the president, secretary, or treasurer, or even some people who, like if there's an assistant secretary or an assistant treasurer or a financial development person who may have been given the same permissions as a treasurer or as a secretary, there could be a number of different people in your chapter who have those superpowers.
If you have an executive president.
Or president for life.
Yeah, like Jeff, for instance.
I think
Jeff.
immediate past president has superpowers too, just because he's probably teaching the new president how to do his job.
Right.
Possibly, yeah. Okay.
I
Do you
forget.
have any other questions, actually, while we're here?
I didn't think, I saw that there was something, unless I
got a question.
Okay, so yeah, Phil wrote in the chat that he has filed a 990N, but never received an acknowledgement. You're talking about an acknowledgement from the IRS?
That's my understanding. I sat in on the training session from headquarters on the 22nd, and that's the first I heard that we were supposed to have an acknowledgement. Never knew that.
Okay, so when you go to the IRS website and you create an account, which is different than your personal 1040 account, you create an account on the IRS website to file a 990. When you do that, there's an email address associated with that account. And then you go through the process of creating a 990N. And as soon as you create that you create the 990N and submit it. As soon as you submit it, you will get a confirmation email that you have submitted it. And about 3 or 4 days later, you will get another email saying that the IRS has accepted your 990. If you did not get any of those emails, first of all, check your junk mail. And second of all, go back into the IRS website using the login information that you created in the first place, and you should see the history of the 990Ns that you created there. And you can print them out right there on the website.
As I say, I never knew about it until last week.
When you say you didn't know about it, you didn't know about the fact that there would be a confirmation coming?
Correct.
Okay, but you did file the 990s.
Correct. But
Okay.
I don't know what happened to it. It just, you know,
Well, as I said, go back into the IRS website. They show a 5-year history of 990s on the IRS website, and you can go in and you can click on any year, and you'll see the reproduction of the form that you filed, and you can actually print it out right from their website, and that will be that will serve as your confirmation for your file.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've
Oh.
tried to create the account on that site, and it doesn't let me create the account. Is anybody else having that problem?
I haven't, I've had an account for 10 years, so I'm not the right person to ask about that, but
I'm the only new guy,
if-
huh?
So since that's you're talking about the IRS site, correct?
Yeah, to do the 990 e-card.
If you're having trouble doing that, there should be a customer service, contact by the IRS. They're the ones that control that. So there's nothing we can do to help that.
I was just wondering if I was the only one, but I guess I'm the only new treasurer.
Yeah. And I'm not
Treasure
Yeah.
for life then.
a trick for that. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if there's
the
a
old
trick for
treasurer
that.
ought
Usually it's pretty
have the
easy
account
to
number.
create an account, right? So I would seek out their help.
Yeah.
I had that problem this year because I had to create a new account. But I tried again the next day and it did go through.
Yep.
Tried a couple of times a day for like a week.
Yeah,
All right, that's worth a phone call.
absolutely.
yeah, it's
sure that'll
I just pulled up the website, the IRS website now, and it does, there's a create account and then there's a login on that
Right.
page. So if you go through all the steps to create an account, sometimes it does take a day or two to show up.
You know what else I wonder about? Because when you deal with sites like this, and I've had to do this. Sometimes it's like, oh, okay, I forgot my password. Forgot password. Send you a note. But then sometimes I'm kind of like, what the hell is my account even? Do I even have an account here? Right? There's a forgot my account. I'm kind of sheepish about it. It's like, I don't know my even account. So sometimes that can help too. I don't know if they have that for you. I would give them a call.
But they probably have if you know your,
Yeah, if you know your employer identification
Correct.
number,
Yeah.
they
Yes.
can
Do it another
backtrack
way.
from that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
As for the
Yep.
account, I get that. I go through all the steps to create it, and it's okay. Press next, and then I just get this thing. Oh, technical problem. Try again later.
okay,
Ah,
well, that's just
That's
their
them.
website.
Yeah,
That's
that's the IRS.
Let's move
Yeah.
on.
Your tax
Okay.
knowledge at work.
So the other issue that I don't believe Matt spent a lot of time, if any, on was the concept of budgeting. And the important element to understand about budgeting is that the treasurer does not actually create a budget in a silo all by himself. He needs he is the coordinator and the compiler of information from the president, the secretary, all of the functional vice presidents, the music director, everybody in the chapter who has the potential of spending money. It needs to provide input to the treasurer about what their needs and wants are for the coming year. And then it's up to the treasurer to compile all that information, put it in a form where the treasurer and the president can sit down and go over it, prioritize the expenses, and decide, okay, the chorus director wants to buy 10 pieces of music, we'll let him buy 3. Or whatever the finances of the chapter allow. So that process starts with a lot of raw information coming into the treasurer. The treasurer doesn't just say, well, this is what we did last year, so I'll just increase everything by 5% and we'll be good, and
That's
we'll
what our
go
treasurer
forward
does.
from there. Unfortunately, a lot of people do that. Actually, that's what the state of Maryland does with their budget.
Wow.
But the important element of that is that you are part of the treasurer is the part of the process that pulls all the information together and then works with the president to create a budget proposal that will then go to the society to the chapter board for approval. So that's the process.
But the president has to realize that there's more than just expenses, there's revenue. So you have to work with your marketing team and knowing how many gigs you're going to book and how many tickets you're going to sell and, or applying for a grant or whatever.
All of those things.
All of that stuff has to be on this side of the balance sheet, and then all the other stuff, has to be on the other side, and it has to.
Absolutely.
I would also point out that at least in our chapter, because we've actually had some new leaders come, they can be guided from a previous budget on, what they can start doing. It doesn't have to start off, the sky is the limit. It'll save a lot of time.
That's a good point. It's not. I'm not saying that you ignore what the chapter's done in the past. But you can use that as a starting point. You can use it as a baseline or whatever you want to call it. But there's a caveat to that, though. Don't just look at the previous year. Go back a couple of years, and when you're actually looking forward, think about what you're going to be doing over the next couple of years, not just the next year that you're going to be in, because chapters have different schedules that they do things. They have different competition schedules, or they have different uniform refresh schedules, or they need to buy new risers, even if it's only once every 10 years or however often it might be. So those kinds of periodic expenses that are not on an annual basis do need to be considered, because if there's something that's going to be coming up 2 years from now or 3 years from now, your chapter probably wants to start putting money away for that, unless you happen to have a very flush treasury.
Or run a special fundraiser campaign for a specific capital gain, right? Or for a specific capital purchase, right?
You can do that, sure.
It's like we're going to sell candy bars or nuts in order to raise money for our sound system or something.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But again, knowing that those kinds of expenses are going to appear on the horizon, and knowing what the likelihood is and what the plan is, even because there should be a plan for uniform refreshing or whatever, the sound system, whatever. So there, those kinds of things that are not necessarily the recurring things that happen year after year after year after year, but it's those periodic and non-regular types of situations that will most likely trip you up as a treasurer and as a chapter. So just something to consider when you do that. And there are probably in the presentation that Matt used, even though he didn't get to talk a lot about this, there are a number of slides about the type of information that you should be looking at that's both internal to your chapter and then external to the chapter, the demographics of your community, what type of organizations you sing for, and things like that. And that has impact on, as Jeff said, the number of sing-outs that you do and whether they're paid or unpaid and those kinds of situations. So there's quite a number of, I call them either revenue drivers or expense drivers, and the internal or external to the chapter. And there's a list of them for all of that in the presentation that from Matt that will be available to take a look at. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. The final thing that I want to talk about is the concept of fundraising and grant writing. Grants are a often overlooked source of revenue for our chapters. Most states and most counties have arts funding funds. And sometimes the process of application is a little more convoluted than in other places, but research it, look into it. I'm a member of Patapsco, and we, for the past 15 years or so, we've gotten a grant from Baltimore County that ranged anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500 a year just from the process of submitting an application. So that is a good source of potential income for your chapter that many chapters overlook. Now, one thing to be careful of with grant, especially when you're applying for grants from organizations that are not necessarily government organizations. Let's say there's a private foundation or some other organization that's interested in supporting music or vocal music, and you want to apply for a grant from that organization. One of the things that the secretary and the treasurer can do, if you have a person, let's say you have another person who's the grant writer for your chapter, and he goes through, or she goes through and creates this draft grant application. Well, you can be the as secretary or treasurer, you can be the reviewer of that grant application, because the important thing about a grant application that's often overlooked is you have to know what the mission of the organization that you're applying for is. It doesn't matter what your mission is. It has to align with their mission. Otherwise, you're not going to get a grant. And that's where you need to be very careful to understand what their mission is, and you construct your grant as much as you possibly can to reflect the values in their mission to increase the probability that you will get that grant.
So you're saying that if there's some kind of a grant by an organization whose sole purpose is really to make sure that people understand the value of recycling on a regular basis, right? Then probably singing doesn't align with that, right?
It doesn't really align, no. And but there's something that even does align to us in many cases, and you'll probably find that many granting organizations will have a DEI component, diversity, equity, and inclusion component. And if an all-male chapter applies for a grant from that organization, they're probably going to get turned down.
Education probably is one too, would you say, or no?
It would, definitely. Yeah. And what we do is very educational, but it has to be worded the correct way.
I like Norm's comment. It's hilarious. We recycle songs all the time. It's hilarious.
Yeah, we do that with polecats every week.
So we do recycling all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Good one.
So those are the 2 or 3 things that I wanted to mention that are sort of related to the treasurers, but they really are to this group as a whole, just so that you can kind of look over each other's shoulders and make sure that that all these various I's are dotted and T's are crossed as you go through the year.
I see your hand, Rich.
I just want to make one suggestion if you're going to go for private grants. There are a whole lot of websites that sort of catalog private grant, not-for-profits. But the one that I think is by far the most popular is something called GuideStar. So you should go on guidestar.org and search what you think is the name of your organization. And if it doesn't show up, you got to start there. I'm running into a version of that with the Morris Music Men. That's what we call ourselves. That's not our legal name. So if I apply for a grant in the name of Morris Music Men, and the first step on grant review is to look for us on GuideStar, they don't find us.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where it's important. On GuideStar, you can actually search. I believe you can search by employer identification number. So even if it's not asked for in the grant application, put it in there. The other thing is when you apply for a grant application, you should actually use the legal name of your organization, which is the Morris County Chapter SPEBSQSA or whatever. And then you can put in a DBA, doing business as the Morris Music Men. So you can cover both sides of that and give them a lot of opportunities to find you online.
GuideStar gets their data from the IRS, but they get it like 6, 8, 10 months late after the fact, after you filed.
Yeah, so the legal name with the DBA is a good answer. The Bryn Mawr chapter, aka DBA, the Mainliners Chorus, got a grant from the SBA, Small Business Administration, this past year, based on our revenue dramatically pretty much going to zero. And it was almost like the Paycheck Protection Program money. It's not something that you can dip into every year because that COVID handouts from the government don't happen every year, but it was, you basically had to, divulge all of your financials and your expenses and your revenue in previous years and blah, blah. It was a lot of blah, 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 blah to do that. But, occasionally you'll find those extraordinary events like COVID that may present other opportunities other than grants for the arts. The other thing I wanted to add to John's comments was sometimes I think as a president, you want to look at budget versus actual for the previous year or the previous few years. What did they budget? What did they actually spend? And then as you're going forward with your new budget in the new year, and it's not too late to put your budget together for 2022 if you haven't done that yet,
Right.
is like maybe once a quarter do a budget versus actual. Am I on target? Because you probably know the revenue and the expenses for the most part that you're going to need. So the goal is to not lose money. And what was the number one slide on the president's job description in my presentation? Watch the money. So
All the money.
it's very easy, especially in these times when gigs are getting canceled, shows are getting canceled, your revenue stream is getting canceled, to basically become insolvent. So you really have to be careful about knowing that and budgeting for that, and knowing, are you going to be afloat at the end of the year, or are you going to have to turn in your charter? It's a terrible thing, but you really should watch that very carefully.
Yeah, and that's an important consideration, and the tracking your actual after you have an approved budget is something that you should do, and it's in one of the slides for the treasurer's function on how to do it. But the other aspect of this is that once you approve a budget for the year, it's not cast in stone. I'm not saying that you would change it for the least little thing that comes up, when your phone bill increases or whatever. But if you have a major show that's canceled and that's a significant part of your revenue, then you've got to adjust your budget. So that's part of the process of budgeting. It's maintaining the value of a budget for the organization by revisiting it, not only on an actual versus budget throughout the year, but also revisiting it when there are major events that disrupt the budget.
And I would say too, as a secretary, the most important thing when contemplating that, when you need to revise anything, really any document, but any kind of budget, financial thing or whatnot, is to make sure and we probably all would, probably don't even have to mention it, but make sure you do good document revision control. Make sure you put like a revised date on it, that sort of thing, so you can keep track of it later during an audit, we talked about that during secretary's class, is that, be ready for an audit. What would happen if you had to show someone a folder like 3 years from now that had like, a bunch of revisions to the budget? It's like, how did you track that? How do you tell that story? It might not even be us that are telling that story. So how would someone else figure that out, right?
It could be Greek letters, for instance.
Or calculus.
Delta, Omicron, Omega.
It's like, what the hell is this? All right. Hey, listen, so I wanted to, we're winding down time. We got like, really 20 more minutes of scheduled time, whatever. But this is your time, chapters, anyone in any chapter, any questions you have about what we've talked about in any of these 3 tracks or how they intersect. Any questions at all?
I don't really have a question, but I'd like to mention one of my pet areas of concern. Tomorrow is January 31st, and that's the due date for your 1099 NEC and your 1096 summary to go to the IRS. Is everybody aware of that?
It's a fair question.
Was that a quiz?
Yeah, that was a quiz.
Part 2 is that I've got a lot of extra blank forms and I can work with you if you need help.
Ah.
And you don't even need the blank forms, because there are services on the web where for a few dollars for a 1099, you can have the service automatically mail it to the recipient and file it electronically with the IRS. Actually, if your chapter uses QuickBooks for its accounting, there's a service right within QuickBooks to create a 1099 and do it electronically at no cost.
And really, that's something would be a good, nice thing to do, right? Because you need to do that for the people that are working for you, right? Isn't that what you need the 1099 for? So, in all terms of good relationship management, let's take care of those things so that we're not put at legal risk. All right.
You got the brain trust here. Oh, Miriam's got a question.
Hello.
Yeah, so mea culpa, things have been very confused because of COVID, but I didn't end up having it. At any rate, I did miss the secretary's meeting. I know that it's online and I will be looking at it. You mentioned that somebody mentioned that it's my responsibility if there are changes to the budget by the treasurer. Did I interpret that correctly? That we want to keep, what did I write?
Oh, hey, let me clarify. Okay, no. So all I said was really collectively as a board, but as an executive board, as you're going through and you think about what we're doing, right? So let's scrabble together a meeting. Okay, great. That sort of thing. And what do? We record minutes. And usually minutes, there's not many revisions to minutes, but there can be. Well, my comment was more broad and more general to that we did talk about this in secretary's class, but it's not your job necessarily to manage that particular document. But it is important when making revisions that you follow those kind of tight revision controls, is that you make sure that it's revised as of a date. That way it's easier to find out when you're going and storing. You're basically going to store these documents in the secretariat files and the chapter files. You want to be sure when you receive that, it's like, wait a minute, this looks just like the original with different numbers. What's up? Let's put a revision date on that sort of thing. That's all I meant.
And in some chapters, you have people wearing many hats, and you kind of just collectively decide amongst the maybe secretary or treasurer, okay, you're going to file your own, tax form. I don't need to do that for you as a secretary. Or maybe there's some other thing that maybe the music vice president fills out the contest entry, not the secretary. Or, you just got to make sure that all the bases are covered.
There you go.
And that.
And everyone knows who's supposed to do what.
Correct.
There you go.
That was a big part of, the president's job, but, in what we talked about in terms of the nuts and bolts of the organization. But it's not cast in stone. If you decide that somebody else is better suited to do that, give him that job. Yeah, delegate.
The only thing you can't delegate is you can't let the treasurer do the financial review.
Right.
And you probably can't have the president do that either.
No.
No, the financial review actually needs to be done by somebody it can be done by a member of the chapter, but
Correct.
it just can't be somebody who was a member of the board for the year in question.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you have a former treasurer, or if you have a member who is financially savvy, or if you have a spouse of a member, that's a possibility. The other potential financial reviewer that's often overlooked by chapters is to contact another chapter in your area, because that treasurer is probably having the same trouble you are, and
Finding
just offer
someone, right.
to do each other's.
Over to swap. You
Just
might
swap.
have some interesting notes to share amongst the two of you.
Could be.
All right. So, hey, John, I have a question for you. This will be a stumper question. We covered this in secretary's class. We didn't have a fight about it, but I found this interesting note, right? And my board talked about this and whatnot. I'm going to share my screen for a minute because I want to take you right to the secretary's manual, right to the source where I saw it, right? So here I'm looking at the secretary manual. Let me know if you can see my screen.
I can see it.
All right. This was the one that was updated September 2017. So that being said, and I told this to the secretaries as well, take it with a grain of salt. There's a lot of things in this one that don't apply, all right, that are not accurate because of the, everyone in harmony and all that sort of thing. Down here, though, this is a question on insurance. And so I want to go down to page 23. Here we are. And I just want to highlight this note here. When we talk about the dishonesty and the fraud coverage section of the policy and the coverage limits and whatnot, and then we get down to this paragraph. In the past, it was required that anyone that was, you would have to list individuals handling money, right? And you have to list those people in your first board meetings. Like, oh, okay, they're going to take money for the show. This person's going to collect money for the uniforms. This person's going to, that sort of thing. It says this requirement's no longer mandated. However, it's it's good to identify those members, but it's no longer mandated, right? What do you think about that?
Well, it's the reason why it was mandated previously is because that's what the insurance carrier required. The insurance carrier would not cover fraud by somebody who was not specifically authorized to handle money for the chapter. And in the old way of thinking, anyone who was a board member was in essence assumed to be able to handle money for the chapter. But if there were members or non-members who were handling money for the chapter, they had to be specifically named.
Right, understood.
They changed insurance carriers, and that is no longer part of the requirements of the policy. Now, as a practice, it's certainly good that the rest of the board knows who's potentially handling money for the chapter, because that's how chapters sometimes get in trouble. And it's not necessarily that the treasurer is doing anything nefarious, but he may not know all the information about certain members or non-members that another member of the board would say, hey, why are we letting that person handle our money? Don't you know he was convicted of embezzlement 10 years ago or something along those lines? So it's very unlikely to occur, but that's why it's there.
The question came up as a point of legality because the slide actually disagreed with what the operations manual said, and many people, it was like, oh, really? Didn't know that. They didn't realize the policy, the insurance carrier had changed or whatnot. So
is there a date revision of those documents?
Anyway, there's there is, right? So
yeah, I'm not sure that there is a flyer put out every year by Harmony Hall about the insurance coverage.
Okay.
But I don't think they get into that level of detail about what's required or not required.
Anyway, I remembered I wanted to ask you that. So that was my question to the treasurer. So.
All right.
We got another question.
Oh, let's go.
Actually, two parts.
Okay.
I missed the
I'll charge you twice.
Okay. I missed the treasurer's session last Sunday, and I've been looking for it on the website, the district website, and
Yeah,
still haven't seen it
it's not
posted.
there yet. I do need to finish that up tonight and get it posted. I was waiting for the slides. I needed a few slides from Matt. I just got that email yesterday.
Okay, I'll just keep looking. The other question is on 1099s. If I do business with a business and spend over $600, do I have to submit a 1099 for that business as opposed to an individual?
It depends on whether the business that you're doing business with is a corporation or not. If it's a corporation, in other words, it has Inc. or LLC or those PLLC or whatever those initials are after the name, then you do not have to send them a 1099. But if it's an individual, or if it's a unincorporated business or sole proprietorship or partnership, then you do have to send them a 1099.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Okay.
Miriam, I saw your hand coming up.
I just had a quick question. So I said I was gonna go through the recording, but I actually don't know where it is for the secretaries 2 weeks ago.
Ah, okay. I can help with that. Let me show that. I'll put that right in here. So let's see. I'll share screen one.
It'll save some
There's
time.
an awesome YouTube channel.
So we have, if you go to here, I'm going to come out it a different way. Let me get a new tab here. So if you go to your browser, I happen to use Google Chrome, and you go and you type YouTube, right? You can get to YouTube. So when you get to YouTube, this is the best way to get there, really. If you go in the search bar and you type MAD chapter leadership, and you hit go,
Oh, look at that.
you'll get right to our chapter, our content. The other place that it is, by the way, is on the Mid-Atlantic District website. If we go to the MAD home, this is displayed now, and I'm going to ask Mike to keep this up here, maybe push it down to maybe the bottom or something, you know, but it's always, I want it to be on the front page here. If you just go ahead and click this, that gets you to our Leadership Academy planning page, and there's a link right here to it.
Great.
There's also
And
a
the
link right here
handouts, yes.
to the notes. Yep, exactly.
Google
Okay.
Drive.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for the question.
Does anybody need help navigating the Mid-Atlantic District website, as long as we're on that? Are there other things you want to point out?
You just don't have enough time tonight.
Oh,
Wow.
the dog ate my password.
Should have
That's my favorite one.
started long ago. No, it's
Yeah, Mike Kelly and I are good friends, so
Yeah.
I can say that about him.
yeah. Okay.
All right.
All
Well,
right. Well, I mean, yeah. So questions are
pretty
coming
much it.
pretty slow here, but that's okay. Listen, I'll just start saying this. I'm going to start to wrap us up here a little bit. You know, if you do have questions, by all means, please, two things, right? Make sure you reach out to someone. Be sure you know, and I covered this in secretaries. You know, I lied. I'm going to actually share my screen again. You know, Jeff, you bring up a good point here. And let me see if I can make this a little smaller. I don't know if I can. Let's see this. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's maybe not so unfriendly here. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Listen,
You have to log in before you see who you to call.
that's true. That's true. And I am not logged in. You picked right up on that, didn't you?
And that's why I have to log in twice before it like takes it. Oh, you're logged in once.
Yeah, I'm logged in. So if you don't have a login, ask Mike Kelly to for a login, or you know, figure out how to do that, right? So so listen, so reach out to John Santora or Matt Matthew, Jeff Porter, myself, any of the other people who are on the faculty this year. You know, if you have questions about other areas, you want to confirm something about VP of Music or whatnot, right? You can see who the people are and you can find the people. If you've not done it already, you can go to the district directory and you can search you can search up a member like Steve Skolnick, right? And there he is. And you can find out, as you know, all of the information that you need to know, right? Okay. His wife's name is Donna, if you needed to know that. Okay. So this who do you call that I was talking about is right in here. So it's under district directory. And you can find, as you see, members, quartets, chapters, officers, and staff. That's also good. And these are hot links to like if you needed to, for some reason, needed to reach out to Steve Kirsch directly. I mean, by all means, you can certainly do that. He loves it when you reach out to him. No, he really does. He really does. Here's the who do you call. And this needs updated. Dave Kelly is updating this. He's the district secretary now. But this kind of, area of expertise and who do you call. So let's talk, for instance, about, let's see, grants. I thought grants was on here. I think grants is on here somewhere. Trying to read. Do you see it? Does anyone see it? Youth and Harmony. You can contact Kevin Bohm. All right. So anyway, I can't find it right now. Maybe it's not on there. Maybe we should add it. Maybe that's a problem. I'm going to show you this other couple of pages here. It's under docs and information. So that was district directory. We've got these different kinds of the operations team and who you call. Docs and information. A lot of great info in here. Board minutes and call letters from district level board or House of Delegate. That stuff's all here. The district regulations are here. There's like the district SOP, bylaws and things if you needed that. I don't know, maybe you need, toothpicks to keep your eyes open. Here's your 990 form, a blank and a template. If you need that, you can pull that down. Always make sure these documents are the most up to date. You might want to just be sure of that. Let's go back.
I don't think there's a blank there.
Yeah, you can download the PDF, right? So.
Yeah, but it's not blank. It's the last filing.
Yeah, that's the district's 990 as filed.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
And it's.
Oh, look at that.
And you don't have there's not a
You
link
can
here.
Google 990 and you'll find the blank.
It's the district's ones. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Just to get done with it. That's fine. Not a problem. And then the place where I was going down here was docs and information. There's a place to go for nonprofit registration. And then I thought there was a grant place here too. So the nonprofit registration and compliance, here's for each state. You go to your state. I hear that Pennsylvania is out of date. And the person to contact is Chris Beekler, who curated this information for us. There's, like I said, there is a place. I don't know if I can search. Is there a search bar? I don't have a search bar here, do I? Let's see if we can find this. There was a grants place, wasn't there? Am I dreaming that?
I think there was, but I'm not sure where it is now. I can get to the Pennsylvania barbershop or license plate form. So.
I swear it was here. Maybe it's over here. I say grants. Endowment
There
funds,
it is. Grants.
Grant instructions.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is. Okay. So I wasn't expecting it under programs and projects, but I guess the other list was too long. So here you go. So no, this is not true. This is not true at all.
Oh,
so what
I don't
happens
even
is,
recognize that guy.
if you pull up this page, it'll show your picture here.
Oh,
and your information. Go ahead and try that. Okay. Here, share your screen and you go try that. Share your screen, Jeff.
all right. Really?
Yeah.
Oh
So,
my God. That's crazy.
so you have to watch out a little bit.
Oh God. I gotta log in.
There you go. Do it twice. Okay, no, it's okay.
Oh, I got on the first time.
Okay.
All right. So I go to docs and information.
Programs and projects.
Programs and projects, grants, grant instructions. There I am.
Yeah,
That's me.
it's you.
I'm the expert.
Now, I don't know if that's any kind of a joke. It's like, look, if you need help, just ask yourself.
Write yourself a grant.
Yeah.
God, I wonder. See.
We'll probably talk to Steve about that. All right. So listen,
Oh,
so I
great.
wanted to show you that, navigate because it came up. Noah Van Gilder is leaving us, but that's okay. That's fine. Is there anything else that we need to cover or are we good? All right. Listen, I want to thank everyone here who's members of chapters, which we all are. Thank you. This session was for you. Thank you, Jeff Porter. Thank you, John Santora. Thank you, Rob France. No,
Thank you, Rob France, for being on every stinking one
Yeah.
and doing
Absolutely.
recordings for each one of those.
Really good. I
lot
love
of
this,
work.
really. No, I do. Yeah. So thank you all for being here and your attendance, and we'll see you next year, hopefully in person.